Hey everyone, Dragon-Minded here again. I mentioned in my previous video that I wanted to come back around to some of my collection and focus a little bit more on different pieces of it, such as the NES collection or the N64 collection. But one of the things that I've actually been really passionate about in the last couple of years when I've been collecting is artwork for the BEMANI series games. And so I figured what better than to kick all this off than to go through my Beatmania collection. So tonight I want to kind of outline my Beatmania, my Beatmania 2DX, and my Beatmania 3 collection as it hangs on my wall and as it stands. So let's kick it off with original Beatmania. So we've got the first marquee up here, the original Beatmania, and I think it's kind of cool. It's got a couple defining features. The first of it is this little logo on here. And it's the Konami Game Machine Division logo. And this is actually before BEMANI was a thing. They used to be called the Game Machine Division, and with the runaway success of Beatmania, they created a new department, BEMANI, which is actually short for Beatmania. So this is the game that started it all. Another cool thing is they've got this silly text on here, a real-time dance music game, Hard and Fat. On later versions, they changed that to Hard and Extreme because it didn't really make sense, but here it stands, and here it is. So we'll move on to Beatmania Second Mix, which is like almost the same as Beatmania, but it's got a little bit more of a neon feel to it, so I think it looks pretty cool. And then Beatmania Third Mix. Not much to say about this, other than this was the last one that had the Game Machine Division logo by itself. And if we look at the next one, Beatmania Complete Mix, which was kind of a roll-up mix, this is the first one to have Konami's Game Machine Division as well as BEMANI, and it's the last one of these to have a non-BEMANI logo on it, because the rest of them switched over to the new BEMANI division. This is also the first one with a Jazz Rack logo on it, which I think means it's the first one with externally licensed music, because everything used to be done in-house with Konami in order to keep things cheaper. So we'll move on. We're looking over here. We've got Beatmania 4th Mix, Beatmania 5th Mix, which are kind of almost the same marquee except for the color scheme, and a little bit of a change in the logo. And then we get down to Beatmania Complete Mix 2, which actually has a pretty cool, I don't think you can see in the light here, but it has some pretty cool printing here that almost looks shiny or neon when you walk by it. This is the second roll-up mix. And then we get on to my favorite marquee of the series, which is Beatmania Club Mix. And the reason I find this one so awesome compared to the rest is if you look at a lot of them, they're very dark, they're very dingy, they're that way on purpose because it's the mood of the game. And Beatmania Club Mix comes in and it's just so bright and cheery and happy. And I love arcade games. I love it when you walk into an arcade and everything's bright and wants you to come play with it and it's trying to draw you in. And so this is my favorite marquee of the series, hands down, because of that, because it looks so cheerful and bright and happy. I just love it. And then we have Beatmania featuring Dreams Come True. I wish I knew a little bit more about this. There was a version of DDR that did the same thing, but it's pretty obscure. We have Beatmania Core Remix and Beatmania 6 Mix, and this was the only version of Beatmania that I ever got to play as a child in arcades, because it was the only one that anyone ever had. And then we'll walk down here, and we've got Beatmania 7th Mix, and then finally, haha, puns intended, we have Beatmania the Final. And this is not hung up on the wall because I actually removed it from my cabinet in order to show it. But you can see here it's got the real-time music dance game Hard and Extreme. That's Beatmania. It's too cool. So they definitely switched it from Hard and Fat, which is kind of a shame because the game itself says Hard and Fat on it, and it is kind of hard and fat. But that kind of covers it for Beatmania, other than a couple of the odds and ends that I have here, which I can talk a little bit about. And the first one being Hip Hop Mania Complete Mix. And those of you in America will be familiar with the fact that this is the US release of Beatmania Complete Mix. And aside from, I think, a couple song changes and localization, it's pretty much the same. But it's cool because we actually got we actually got an arcade release for this. And then I have this other thing, which you notice is much smaller. It's a Beatmania Third Mix mini marquee. And this is for the super rare Beatmania mini cabinets. And you can see it's slightly different than a Beatmania Third Mix, but on the whole, it's almost the same. It's just cool to have. Unfortunately, they're hard to find, so that's why I don't have too many of them. So we'll walk around to get one quick overview, and then we're going to move on to 2DX. And I'll apologize with this hallway in advance because it's kind of echoey. But we come up here to Beatmania 2DX, which was supposed to be the next evolution in Beatmania. The DX was actually a cabinet type. There's actually Beatmania 2 cabinets in the world, and they're not deluxe, so they're not as big and as flashy as the current ones. And one thing to note is this one has the Game Machine Division logo on it, as well as BEMANI, and that's the only one of the entire 2DX series that has that. One other thing to note is you'll notice there is no substring marquee. The only artwork that they had for that was an instruction insert that I will show you in a bit. So we come over here to second style, third style. This is one of my favorite styles. I pop it into my 2DX cabinet every once in a while to play, because it's so good. It's one of my favorites. We got fourth style, fifth style, sixth style, which is another one of my favorites of the old mixes, because it added a lot of Eurobeat. And one of the fun things about it is the code for it is B4U, which is kind of a BEMANI get it in a way. So I thought that was kind of cool and clever of Konami. We move over to 7th style, and then 8th style, which is actually the last Twinkle release. And Twinkle was the hardware that 2DX ran on up through 8th, and then they switched to PC after that in preparation of going to eAmusement and other things like that. But this is the last one to have the ridiculously specific timing that people recognize from way back when. So move on now to, we've got 9th style here, and I think this was the first style, yes it was, the first style to have eAmusement, and it used magnetic cards as opposed to, well, I guess it wasn't eAmusement at the time, it was just the card readers. I don't even know if this one went online. But we move on to 10th style, and you got the little eAmusement logo in the corner showing off this one could have eAmusement and go online. We have 2DX Red and then Happy Sky, which were the last ones to use the magnetic cards before they switched to the current set of cards. And one funny thing to note here is if you look up here, this says that's Beatmania 2DX 8 style, it's too cool. If you can get a hold of a 2DX Red marquee or find one, have a look for that misprint, because I think it's on all of them. If you can see, this one says 8 style. This one over here says 7 style, and the rest of them don't really have flavor text like that. So it's just kind of a fun misprint to be aware of if you're looking for that. So we'll move on. We've got over here, we've got Distorted. Nothing to say here on that one. 2DX Gold. This is the only one that has that weird outline that you see there instead of being regularly shaped. And so it's actually a really cool marquee. Everything glows, it's very flashy. I love it, it's great. And then we have DJ Troopers, which interestingly enough is the only one that printed all the way to the bottom, so that's a unique thing about Troopers. We come over here to Empress, and you can't really see on the video here, but you see in the corner they've got like kind of a pattern. The entire bottom has an etched pattern in the marquee, which when you look at it in certain light is actually, you can see like sparkles and shining, and it really goes along with the rest of the marquee. And then another one of my favorites is Sirius, just because of the way it's got the double printing. And you can see me catching the light here. The front of the marquee has this holographic glow on it, and it just looks great. Then we move to Resort Anthem. This was one of my favorite mixes again. I really like the theme. I like a lot of the music on it. This one's an A+ mix. You should try it if you haven't, if you can get a hold of it. So let's walk around. And let's look at the last mix that was able to boot on an arcade cabinet without going online, and that's Linkle. There's not much to say about Linkle. The big difference was when we moved on to Tricoro. And if you notice with Tricoro and Spada here, they're kind of like these thin paper, like you can kind of see that it's almost thin paper. It's actually, it's printed on plastic, so it's actually pretty good. But they switched to this instead of the hard acrylic, and they would use something like this where you would sandwich it in between two pieces that looked like basically a marquee itself, and that would hold it onto the machine. This is a reproduction. It doesn't have the holes up here where you would screw the plastic screws through here, but it does the job. Then we'll come over here to 2DX Pendule. This one's a great mix. I really miss it. And then finally, sorry, it's out of order because I ran out of room on the wall. But finally, we've got 2DX Copula. This one, pretty cool theme, train themed. It's one of the first ones in a while that wasn't just like kind of generic. Well, I guess Spada wasn't generic, it was sword themed, but the theme on that one wasn't the greatest, other than the background music, which was fantastic on Spada. But So we've looked at those, now we'll have a look at the instructions cards. And these are the inserts that go on the actual turntable deck. And as I was saying before, Substream has the license on the instructions deck because it didn't have a marquee, so that's where they had to put it. But I've got every single instructions, except for a keen eye will point out that I'm missing gold. But all through here, here's all the instructions. It has basically how to play, different modes. Like you can kind of look and it says like how to do mirror play, how to do hidden, double, sudden. So you didn't have to like flounder your way through it. And one of the cool things is if you notice on Linkle and Resort Anthem, these are the mixes that introduced Pacelli. And it was an option to not enable Pacelli at the time because you didn't need to be online. So if you look on the back, they're double printed, and the back side has a non-Pacelli version, and the front side has a Pacelli version. So the arcade operator was able to choose which of the two they wanted to display, depending on whether they wanted to support Pacelli or not. But this is kind of a cool installation. I really wish that I had the gold instructions, but it'll have to do for now until I can track those down. And then I guess we will go finally, well, before we go finally to the Beatmania 3, we can come over here and have a quick look at what some of the magnetic cards looked like, and this was for 9th style. So if you look, they've got this little in here, you can kind of barely see it, but that's because these had to be inserted in the right order, in the right direction, or the game wouldn't read, because it actually read and wrote to a magnetic strip, instead of the new card system. I should probably had a light on here, but instead of the new card system like this, which is just kind of a, you can tap it on a wave pass reader, or you can stick it in any direction into a slot. It doesn't matter because it's RFID instead of actually being magnetic. But this is a set of the 2DX 9th style collectible cards, and they're kind of cool. And the last thing I wanted to show off was Beatmania 3. And Beatmania 3 was basically a reimagining of the original Beatmania with new upgraded hardware, but essentially the same game. And it only had 5 releases. So there's Beatmania 3, Beatmania 3 Append 6 Mix, which looks almost identical to Beatmania 6 Mix, and same with like 7th Mix and Append Core Remix that we had over there. They look very similar to the Beatmania releases. So these games are cool. They had upgraded graphics, upgraded sound. The cabinet was much cooler looking. Just everything about it was a cooler experience. It had like a foot pedal. Unfortunately, it was very short-lived. There was only 5 releases, which does beat out like Para, which only had technically 3 or 4 releases. But basically a reimagining. And then the final marquee of the night is Beatmania 3, the final, which looks almost identically to the Beatmania, the final, if we can line them up and look at them both right here. It's kind of cool to look at both of them. But that was the last one for both of these games, and those games are discontinued after this. But Konami did actually a really good job on Beatmania and Beatmania 3, the final, doing a last hurrah. They were just exceptionally excellent compilation releases. They're just really good games to have. They're sought after by collectors because of the fact that they're so playable. So, I guess I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope some things in here were informative or things that you didn't know about. If you know other trivia that I missed out on here, feel free to add it in the comments below the video, and I'd love to hear about it. And I guess if you want to see more of these videos, I'd encourage you to subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to try to keep posting other videos about my collection and try to highlight other things in the future. So yeah, thanks for watching.